Have you ever looked at someone you love and thought, this is it, this is forever? I did. I looked at Sarah, my wife of 10 years, and saw my entire world. Our life wasn't a fairy tale, but it was ours. We had built it from scratch, brick by brick, with shared dreams and late-night laughter. We had 2 beautiful kids, a cozy home, and a bond I believed was unbreakable. But I've learned that even the strongest chains can be shattered by a single, careless act. This is the story of how my forever fell apart and how I had to learn to rebuild from the rubble. It all started subtly, so subtly that I dismissed it as my own paranoia. Sarah, who was always so open, started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. Late-night texts became a regular thing. Always explained away with a quick, "It's just work," or my sister S having a crisis again. She started going out for girls' nights more often, coming home smelling of a perfume I didn't recognize, and with a detached look in her eyes. I'd ask how her night was, and she'd give me one-word answers, her mind clearly elsewhere. The warmth that used to radiate from her was replaced by a polite, distant chill. I tried to talk to her. I'd say, "Sarah, is everything okay? You seem distant." She would force a smile and reply, "I'm just tired, honey. Work's been stressful." I wanted to believe her. I really did. It was easier than confronting the terrifying alternative. Who wants to admit that the foundation of their life might be cracking? So I threw myself into being a better husband. I planned date nights, helped more with the kids, and left little notes for her. Trying to reignite the spark I felt was fading. But it was like trying to light a fire with damp wood. My efforts were met with distracted thanks, but the emotional wall between us just grew taller. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It was our daughter's birthday, and Sarah had promised she'd be home early from a work dinner. The kids and I waited, the cake sitting on the table, candles unlit. Hours passed, my calls went to voicemail. When she finally walked in just before midnight, the lie fell apart. There was no smell of restaurant food, just that same unfamiliar perfume and the faint scent of wine. Her blouse was slightly rumpled, but the real giveaway was the look on her face when she saw us all waiting, not guilt, but annoyance. It was the look of someone whose secret life had just been inconveniently interrupted. In that moment, I knew. The denial I had clung to for months evaporated. The next day, when the kids were at school, I confronted her. I didn't yell. My voice was eerily calm as I asked, "Who is he, Sarah?" The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity before she finally broke down. The truth came tumbling out in a torrent of tears and broken sentences. It was a colleague. It started as a harmless friendship, a spark of connection she claimed she'd been missing. One forbidden touch at a happy hour had led to clandestine meetings, stolen moments, and a full-blown affair. Every word was a blow. She had promised me forever. We had stood in front of our friends and family and made vows. But those vows had been broken by secret texts and hidden encounters. She talked about feeling unseen and neglected, but all I could hear were excuses. Excuses that tried to justify betraying our family, our history, and the love, I thought, was our anchor. The pain was indescribable. It was a physical ache in my chest, a hollowness that echoed with every memory we had ever made. The home we built suddenly felt like a stage for a lie. The days that followed were a blur of pain and confusion. We had to tell the kids we were separating. Trying to explain the situation to them without casting blame was the hardest thing Ivy ever had to do. Seeing the confusion and hurt in their eyes was a fresh wave of agony. How do you explain to a child that the family they've always known is breaking apart? Sarah moved out, and the house became silent. The silence was deafening, filled with the ghosts of laughter and conversations we would never have again. I was lost. Some days, anger was the only thing that got me out of bed. Other days, a profound sadness pinned me down. I felt like a failure, not just as a husband, but as a man. I replayed every argument, every moment of distraction, wondering what I could have done differently. Friends told me to move on, to hate her, but it wasn't that simple. You can't just turn off a decade of love, even when it's been tainted by betrayal. I realized I wasn't just grieving the end of my marriage, I was grieving the future I had lost. But slowly, very slowly, things started to change. I started focusing on my kids, on being the most stable and present father I could be. Their laughter became my lifeline. I started going to therapy, learning to process the anger and the grief without letting it consume me. It's important to remember that if you're going through something this difficult, seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness. I started rediscovering myself outside of being Sarah's husband. I picked up old hobbies, reconnected with friends, and began to see a path forward, a life that was different, but still my own. I don't know what the future holds. The wound is still there, and some days it still aches, but it's no longer a gaping chasm. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did. It's about freeing myself from the bitterness that was poisoning me. It's about accepting that our story is over, and that it has time for me to start writing a new one. A story where I am the main character. It's a difficult journey, but for the first time in a long time, I feel a glimmer of hope. I am rebuilding, one brick at a time. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it can offer some perspective to anyone going through something similar. You are not alone. If you found this meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world. Take care.